Well, hey everyone, it's Nate, host of the Vinyl Guide podcast, and I'm here in front of my Van Halen records. I love this band, and I gotta tell you, I was reminded how awesome they were this week when we had Noel Monk, former manager of Van Halen, on our podcast, talking about the old times, crazy stories with the band. You could hear more, of course, at thevinylguide.com. Now, when it comes to Van Halen records, they're quite common. I mean, really, Van Halen sold millions of records in the 70s and 80s. You could find these records around used record stores for well under $20. You can see some of the price tags here, $6, $8, and these are in beautiful shape too. So there's really no shortage of Van Halen records. But there is a rare record in the Van Halen catalog that I'm going to talk about today, and that is the Merrie Melodies record. Now, to understand this record, let me tell you a little bit about the history of the band in Los Angeles. Now, in 1976 and 1977, Van Halen, with lead singer David Lee Roth, were quickly making a name for themselves in the LA club and party scene. Just on the strength of their music alone, they could attract hundreds, sometimes thousands of people to a show, all without a record in the shops or a deal with a record company. So they were getting a lot of attention. And not only were they working on the music, but they were also working on their image as well as their marketing. Now, so much so that they created their own logo at the time. Looks like this. If you were in Los Angeles around 76, 77, you probably saw this logo taped to a heap of light posts and being handed out from various people on the Sunset Strip. They even had t-shirts made at one point with this logo. So Van Halen were not only a musical juggernaut, but they were also a marketing machine as well. And they attracted a lot of attention, so much so that in 1977, they were signed to Warner Brothers and began the process of recording their debut album. However, if you look at the timeline, a few interesting things happened. They recorded the songs that became Van Halen 1 around September of 77. However, the album didn't come out until February of 1978. So there were about 6 months in between in which a lot of very interesting and pivotal things happened in the Van Halen camp. Now, to start out, Warner Brothers really didn't know how to market Van Halen. And that's exemplified by this mock-up of an album cover which was created around the time. This is just an idea. Of course, we never saw this in the shops, but this was one of the ideas that came out of Warner Brothers on how to market the band. This could have been influenced by the then current punk scene, which of course was rising around 77. You can also see that the Van Halen logo is kind of this different version that we haven't seen before. But it's not too unrelated to the one we just showed you in their party days. Instead of balls on the A's, you see lightning bolts. It's also one word, Van Halen, with a lowercase h. Now, why they made this, I have no idea. It's not a great picture. Looks like Alex is leaning a little bit too far forward. Dave's in the back with his eyes shut. Not a great picture, and I'm glad that they rejected it. However, something interesting happened around this time. Again, we're in the 6 months between when Van Halen recorded Van Halen 1 and when it was released. And the boys were understandably impatient, and of course also very proud of what they've done. Eddie Van Halen had copies of all the songs they recorded in the studio and started playing them for some of their friends in different bands on the Sunset Strip. And one of those bands was Angel. You remember Angel, of course, Punky Meadows and all that. And they were signed to Casablanca Records. And Eddie played them several tracks, including the cover song, which I'm sure you all know, You Really Got Me from the Kinks. I mean, that was really the song that kicked Van Halen off on the map. And it was, again, a fantastic cover. And Angel decided to do their own version of You Really Got Me after hearing Van Halen's. So the folks at Warner Brothers got concerned about this. They didn't want Angel's version of You Really Got Me hitting the shops or the radio waves before Van Halen's. They wanted to dominate. So they decided to release an EP. And that's what brings us to this, the Merrie Melodies EP. Now, this is simply 5 songs that appear on Van Halen 1. Same mix, same everything. So if you heard Van Halen 1, you've heard everything here. The songs are Running with the Devil, Eruption, Ice Cream Man, You Really Got Me, and Jamie's Crying. And the reason why it's called the Merrie Melodies EP is because on the opposite side of the let me twist around here. You see the Elmer Fudd Merrie Melodies label. And by the way, you've probably seen this picture on many Van Halen bootlegs, even CDs, and this is the origin of that. A lot of the bootlegs and collections of outtakes are called Merrie Melodies, but this is really why that was the case. Now, it didn't have a record cover. It came in one of these, the 12-inch hole punch cover with this Van Halen logo at the top. Of course, there's the Van Halen label and the Merrie Melodies. The back side is blue on red, and the front side is red on blue. This is the only product of Van Halen that has Van Halen as a single word, lowercase h, and certainly the only one that's ever used this particular logo. You'll see the song names down here. Again, the same exact mix as Van Halen 1, but just in a pretty package to attract the DJs across America to go ahead and play it. And of course it worked. You Really Got Me and a lot of the other Van Halen songs, Running with the Devil, got a lot of radio airplay, and of course we all know the story from there. Let me tell you one quick side note as well on the logo. Now, we've gone through the variations of the Van Halen logo, from the early days to the we have no idea what we're doing days, to then Van Halen 1. And this logo here is called the Wings logo. And it's, iconic logo in rock and roll. I can't tell you how many people in my high school had this tattooed on their arm, but the Van Halen Wings logo. Now, the Van Halen Wings logo really is prominent on Van Halen 1, Van Halen 2. None of the other albums really have this logo. However, they were using it on concert t-shirts and other promotional stuff, so it didn't completely go away. They just minimized the use on the album covers. When Sammy Hagar joined Van Halen in 1985, the Wings logo evolved to this circular logo. So the whole Sammy Hagar period, it's Van Halen, a little bit more 3D and kind of this round globy type thing. You'll also notice that when David Lee Roth rejoined the band for the Different Kind of Truth album, they went back to the Wings logo. So Noel Monk, former manager of Van Halen, talked about this on our podcast and in his book Running with the Devil, which is fantastic, about the origin of this logo. Now again, there was a 6-month period where they didn't know what they were doing. They had to come up with the logo, and Noel ran across some old paperwork from their previous manager, the very first manager, Marshall Burrell. Inside that paperwork, there was a poster of Jimi Hendrix. And at the bottom of the poster of Jimi Hendrix, there was this logo. See that? JH, but it sure looks like VH too, doesn't it? So if you look at this poster or this logo where, their previous manager had on his wall, Jimi Hendrix, there's not too much of a doubt what the influence of the Van Halen logo was. So there you go. A little bit of Van Halen history for you. And Van Halen history is rock and roll history, and rock and roll history is what we talk about on the Vinyl Guide podcast. So join us, www.thevinylguide.com. Follow us on Facebook or like us on Facebook, facebook.com/vinylguide. Of course, if you like pictures of records and all sorts of cool stuff like that, follow us on Instagram, instagram.com/vinylguide, and of course this YouTube channel. All right, until next time, keep spinning. Cheers.